Hello, everyone. Jordyn Smith, the voice and the astrologer for this YouTube channel, Nonconformist Conscience. This is a video going over your weekly astrological forecast happening for March 23rd to the 28th. I am going to do a separate video going over the Aries solar eclipse that will, um, be uploaded later this week. For the time being, though, I do want to say that I wrote an extensive article going over that eclipse, and I will post a link below for you if you want to read that before the video comes out. The other thing that I want to mention before I get into your forecast is that it is now the Aries birthday special. You have until April 20th to book your Aries birthday special with me. Um, and you can do that on my website. That is, um, a $75 reading. That's 90 minutes where I meet you over Zoom and we go over your evolutionary blueprint, your natal chart, and if you want, I will also go over your solar return. And it's recorded and I send it to you after we meet so that way you can have it and rewatch it. And, I'll answer any questions you have about your chart or, anything you've wanted to know about the why is what I say. So there's that. I also still have the Eclipse special running until March 31st. That is, two sessions, two 90-minute sessions with me over Zoom. Um, that again, I'll record and send them to you. You can use those two sessions whenever you want over the next 12 months once you purchase it. And that is $115, so a pretty big discount. And the last thing is I have my upcoming class through the Jeffrey Wolf Green Evolutionary Association. The class series that's going on is Venus, Sexuality, and Evolution, and I will be teaching the class of Venus in the signs of Taurus and Scorpio, and I will post a link below for you to know more information about that and how to sign up for the class series, or if you just want the pass for my class. There's been a free intro class that you can access through that link if you want to know more about the class series. And Kristen Fontana and Jason Hawley already taught the first class going over Venus and Aries and Libra. So lots of exciting, fun things. So without further ado, let's talk about this week's astrology, remembering that we are in this eclipse portal. We had the Virgo lunar eclipse. We're going to be having, that was on the 14th of March. We're going to be having the Aries solar eclipse on the 29th of this month. And so I love looking at the energies in between. They bridge these eclipses. There's so much to work with, and there is this underlying core theme that I feel like is coming up with these energies of this eclipse season, which is, who would you be without the distortions of the messages and the beliefs that you've taken in about yourself? Each one of us knows who we are on a soul level. We feel it when people have said things or projected things, or, um, we've received messages from others. It can be so harmful and so hurtful, especially when we take it in as truth. But this is the beauty of the soul, is that the soul never forgets who it is. And its intrinsic, authentic, unique nature. And so just even closing your eyes and reflecting on that for a moment, when someone has said something to you or about you, and that feeling of that isn't true, that does not resonate with who I am. These energies are about looking at and purging where somewhere along your evolutionary journey, you took one of those in as a truth and you believed it. And the consequence of that, how that affected your sense of self-worth, your inner relationship to self, your ability to listen to yourself, your ability to communicate with others, your ability to be in equitable relationships, the ways in which you talk to yourself, communicate to yourself, the ways in which, you act on the desires that you have, if that's been where, it can go one or the other way. It can be where you feel like you need to prove yourself, so you overcompensate by always trying to prove who you are to other people. Or on the flip side, it can be where you don't create an action because you are afraid that what has been said and you've internalized is true. And so it's really this time period of reconnecting with who you are and really liberating yourself from those voices, those messages, and those beliefs that are impeding upon you from understanding yourself and your sovereignty and your actual nature. And this is interesting because, we have Pluto in Aquarius now, and Mars is going to do its third and final opposition here in a couple of weeks. And that really started this year off with truly jump starting through that opposition when Pluto was in Capricorn and Mars was in Cancer. That first opposition and those cardinal signs, it was really about throwing off what you've held on to that has affected you in an emotional way on a deep, deep level. The hurt, the pain, if you've experienced, suppressing who you are, all of that. This year is so much about liberating from those dynamics. And when Mars, eventually opposes Pluto again, now Mars is going to be in Leo and Pluto's in Aquarius, the second opposition in these signs. And it truly is about liberation from the known and also really tapping into self-love and dignity and your own creativity and individuality. And with all of the Pisces energy in an abundance right now, it's truly about healing the past in order to surrender and to heal. So I just wanted to really lay the foundation of these energies because we've had, this is a momentous year, and these eclipses, and we're in this eclipse portal, are really helping us to purge the past and those messages and to rediscover and heal who we are authentically, individually, on a soul level, and how this creates a ripple effect in the world. This is absolutely needed right now. So I want to share my screen with you. If it will pop up. Oh, let's see here. There we go. So today, March 23rd, we have the Sun in Aries. It is conjunct Venus retrograde, both ruled by Mars in Cancer, opposing this moon in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn and Pisces, and a balsamic conjunction to this North Node. And the Sun and Venus are sextile to Pluto and Aquarius, who is ruled by Uranus and Taurus. So let's break that down. The Sun in Aries is very much about breaking free of the past and initiating a new evolutionary cycle that helps us give purpose and meaning to our life. It's where we are called to be the warrior of our life. It is where we are called to have the independence and the freedom to experience what we need to experience, what we are desiring to experience in order to understand ourselves more. It's a birthing of a new way of being, right? And yet it's cardinal energy, so there can be a bit of a freak out of, oh, I'm doing this and now I am freaking out because I just ripped the proverbial band-aid off. And so we can sometimes backslide a little bit into the past, what's known and familiar, and what ends up happening is we come into a deeper awareness of we can't really go back to that. It doesn't feel comfortable anymore. We can fake it. We could deceive ourselves by convincing ourselves that maybe it is or it will be the same. But there is that deep gut reverberating feeling of knowing that it is never going to be the same. And so with Mars, I'm not Mars, with the Sun in Aries, conjunct Venus retrograde, both ruled by Mars and Cancer, this is where we are really called to revisit key dynamics and remembering that Mercury is also conjunct Venus, to revisit these key dynamics of where we have taken in information, the way, how it's affected the way that we talk to ourselves, our inner relationship to self, and what have been the emotional patterns that have derived from that type of self-talk or from buying in to a message being a belief, a truth about ourselves that isn't. And so it's really about us recovering our true emotional nature with Mars and Cancer, ruling that Sun, that Venus, and that Mercury. And so for some of us, we can be reflecting, you know, where our independence or our freedom might have been thwarted by the messages that we received from others, possibly growing up. This is Aries energy, and how that conditioned a longstanding dynamic of emotional patterns and how they played out. On the flip side, this is where we are revisiting and reviewing and are called to make a new choice around how we want to respond to our own emotional dynamics or how we want to respond to others right now. Is it going to be in the ways in which we've always responded, or are we going to make a Aries Martian new choice that reflects the new state of becoming that we're in, this new place of self-discovery? And with the Sun and Venus sextile Pluto and Aquarius, this is really where we can have this deep insight into these dynamics and we can observe them. We can almost detach in a way to look into the box in order to understand, how do I really need to respond to this? Is this going to be responding through trauma, through the beliefs or the messages I've taken in, or am I going to have an integration of my individuality and to respond in a way that reflects the essence of who I actually am. And when we make that choice to respond in that way in life, there is a Aquarian liberating quality to this. Okay. So this is also helping us to have insights into what is needing to be liberated from. Um, whether that's, overcompensating through trying to prove who you are and your self-worth, to not making choices because there is a dynamic of feeling inferior or like you can't do it. This gives us an opportunity to really observe and to objectify this before we get to this solar eclipse and we start a brand new karmic beginning. So the retrogrades already have a Aquarian individuation, rebellious type of quality, and it's really wanting us to gear up and make these choices to throw off the past, to not hold on to them, but to liberate from them and experience the freedom within that. So this is also interesting because Chiron in Aries is square its ruler Mars. It's been squaring Mars. It had its first square in September, the beginning of September, and this is its last and final square. The square is going to still be occurring during the eclipse. And so this is helping us to look at, where we are needing to heal or come into a different type of awareness around our emotional wounds through looking at our emotional patterns and cycles and choices and really taking in the lessons within that. This is also interesting because Mars is opposing the moon in Capricorn. So where have you suppressed your authority, your ability to ask and answer your questions? Where have you um, structured your life around the beliefs of others instead of the belief in yourself? It's asking for you to oppose the past in order to pave a new future. And that moon is ruled by Saturn in Pisces in a balsamic conjunction to the North Node. So it's speaking to really wanting to heal this long-standing dynamic of how we've structured our lives and how we are needing to dissolve old barriers and boundaries whenever it comes to our interconnectedness, the ways in which we relate, and our choice making, our ability to make choices that are in alignment with our sense of sovereignty and authority. So, again, this is all gearing up for this solar eclipse happening on the 29th. Then I want to show you all on the 24th, the moon in Aquarius is going to conjunct Pluto. Um, Important to note, Lilith is conjunct Pallas Athene here. All are ruled by Uranus and Taurus. And then we have the Sun and Mercury conjunction ruled by this Mars and Cancer. Mars and Cancer ruled by that moon. So again, this energy is still sextiling the Sun and Mercury. This is pretty powerful stuff. So with the Sun and Mercury conjunct, this is where we get to have insight and information from within be illuminated on a um, instinctual, intuitive, and emotional level, revisiting something, coming to an understanding of something that we might not have understood before. Um, it can also bring up a dynamic where we're getting to revisit an old choice, Mars, Aries, and to take the insight and the information and the messages that we've gleaned from within and to utilize that in a constructive way in order to make a new choice, in order to maybe do the thing that you wanted to do in the past, but you didn't. You could be getting an opportunity to be able to do this, to make that choice that you wanted to make. That really creates a sense of healing and emotional security within. Anytime that we act on our instinct, our intuition, our truth, our gut, that cultivates a deep sense of security at some point. It can feel insecure at first, especially if you're not used to doing it, but it cultivates a sense of being able to emotionally validate oneself. I'm able to make choices for myself. I don't have to get advice from others or do what others are telling me to do. I can make this choice for myself. And so this is a day where you could really be called to make that choice for yourself. And with the moon conjunct Pluto, both in Aquarius and ruled by that Uranus and Taurus, this is where you know, there could be an inner confrontation around understanding where we have over-identified with past trauma or different emotional patterns that we're needing to liberate from that are impeding upon us making the choice that is correct for ourselves, acting on our desire, acting on what feels right, authentic, and unique for each of us. It's giving us an opportunity with that conjunction to really liberate from a lot of emotional and psychological dynamics. And with Uranus and Taurus facilitating the conjunction between the moon and Pluto, this could be transformative. It's really asking us to listen and pay attention to our inner voice, and the insights and the ideas that come to us, and being able to revisit this in order to make that choice that we really feel called to do. This can actually stabilize the inner relationship to self when we act on this. This can promote a healing of self-worth, of feeling self-contained, of also feeling self-sufficient and self-reliant. Um, and so, again, this is gearing up for this new karmic beginning that is wanting to really be initiated during that solar eclipse. And so much of this energy with Venus and Mercury, you know, being retrograde is the revisiting, the reviewing, the resolving, and it is truly about, decluttering the mind and healing that inner relationship to self so much, letting go of what happened in the past in order to move into the future. And with Venus still in Aries at this time, before she moves back into Pisces, at the end of the week, this is really giving us this opportunity to understand and to know what is meant to be acted on. So that way, when Venus moves back into Pisces, we can have that release and that healing um, that is wanting to come to fruition. Very beautiful, great for growth and for evolution. This is a day definitely writing, journaling, um, communicating, expressing. If there's something that you need to release and get out and talk about or write about or come into a deeper sense of awareness, doing it while driving in a liminal space or through just talking to someone if they have, and the kicker is that it needs someone who just needs to be an active listener and not a fixer is what I call it. That way, one can empower themselves with asking and answering their own questions and understanding what it is that they're needing to understand, that could promote more healing. This is also, and it can be illuminated. Again, even just if you don't want to talk with someone, this would be a time to just write down what's going on inside of you and how you could have a lot of deep insight into these dynamics. Anything that's going to help you objectify this with that with that Pluto conjunct the moon, could really be a springboard for liberation and transformation. Um, Whenever it comes to Pallas conjunct Lilith, um, in Aquarius, both ruled by Uranus, this is really about getting back in touch with the essence of what makes you you, who you are, and seeing and experiencing the beauty in your individuality, and how that could be very transformative to your inner relationship to self. It's also about being able to block out the projections of others, to use it like it's a shield. It can't come in. It's not yours to carry, whether that's someone's perception of you or them projecting their own inner dynamics onto you. This is about truly liberating from that and reconnecting with your own individuality, authenticity, and the inner communion. This can also be where, especially with the Aries energy, where we could be needing to be a group of one if necessary right now in order to promote healing. Maybe detaching a little bit from the environment or from what we've been experiencing in a very subjective way in order to integrate what it is we have been learning about ourselves. It's where we can also have these deep insights, revelations into where we've experienced psychological and mental trauma, um, and how we're needing to develop thicker skin and understand that what is said, what is communicated to us about us does not have to be taken in and internalized as the truth. There is this liberation quality with this conjunction between Pallas and Lilith about reconnecting with who you actually are and cultivating self-love around that. Even if you felt isolated, weird, different, alienated, this, that, or the other, there's a lesson. And we often take things in as truth when people project things. And it's because they don't have the awareness to understand who we are and our individuality. And it could challenge them or it could bring up their own stuff. But it's learning how to detach from that and to heal through liberating from those messages and reconnecting with your unique individuality, the things that make you you. So I love that. Then on the 25th, we have a couple of things going on here. The moon is going to conjunct Pallas and Lilith. And then Vesta retrograde is going to square the moon. And then we also have Vesta trining Cassandra, both at 18 degrees and 22 minutes. And they are also trining this Mars, but this is an exact trine between Cassandra and Vesta. Vesta is ruled by Pluto, Cassandra is ruled by this Neptune. So, and obviously the Mars is ruled by this moon. So what is this speaking to? What is this reflecting for us? So Vesta is where we, at her root, learn to devote ourselves to reconnecting with who we are and the divinity within. And Vesta is where we learn to not submit to certain standards or values that actually go against our nature, our authentic soul nature. Vesta is also where we can have a lot of creative regeneration from within when we understand that we are already whole unto ourselves. And with Vesta squaring the moon in Aquarius, and she's ruled by Pluto in Aquarius, moon and her squaring right after the moon goes over Pallas Athene and Lilith. There can be a lot of insight around where we've strayed away from understanding ourselves through trauma, through emotional and psychological trauma, mental trauma of the past. And that square is asking for us to confront Vesta and Scorpio, our own emotional, psychological dynamics, how they've been conditioned, how they've been, what, how have we structured our lives, where we might have submitted, where we might have acquiesced or not stayed true to ourselves. And it's really about confronting this and standing face to face with oneself and saying, I am not that person. I am liberating from this dynamic. And Lilith and Pallas are helping with this dynamic of creating an action to liberate from the past. And then with Vesta trining Cassandra, there can be a lot of healing around utilizing our voice, expressing, having the courage to express something, not being overly identified or attached to the outcome, where we can really heal our inner relationship to self, where we felt disillusioned when we've abandoned ourselves on our authenticity, and where we're needing to, keep that sacred flame alive of reconnecting with the essence of who we are and how that promotes healing and how we can recover our inner knowledge, our relationship to self, and our ability to speak and to express ourselves authentically and honestly, rooted in our truth, and how we are meant to start this new cycle that promotes this healing with Neptune, the ruler of Cassandra, conjunct the North Node, that there's a choice around this. And then, of course, these trine Mars and Cancer as well. And so, again, it goes back to this helps us to cultivate and make these new choices around our own emotional dynamics and patterns. And that's going to come through liberation from the past, the moon in Aquarius ruling that, Mars and Cancer at this point in time. So love that energy. And remember, all of the Aquarius energy with the goddesses is ruled by Uranus and Taurus. So it comes back to listen to yourself. What is that inner drumbeat? What is your inner voice telling you? What action do you need to take? What are you desiring to do in order to heal? What feels true for you in order to do that? And then to have the courage and to do it. Then on the 27th, Venus is going to re-enter into the sign of Pisces and conjunct Neptune. And so all of this work that we have been doing is really, this is signaling to us to revisit these areas of what we're needing to surrender to, what we're needing to heal, where we are needing to connect with that higher octave of Venus through Neptune in order to cultivate a deeper sense of meaning, a vision for our lives, a way of relating to ourselves that's healing, that promotes healing, that's not negative, where we're needing to surrender to the past in order to move forwards. A lot of cultivation around this area, but it's also reflecting, where we're needing to cultivate a deeper sense of meaning and relationship to the beloved, to that which we come from. That gives us everything that we need to nurture ourselves, and it will come from within us as well. So I love this. Love, love, love this energy. And of course, I'll dive more into that with the solar eclipse video, because Venus will be in Pisces whenever that occurs as well. And then on the 28th, Saturn is going to be at 24 degrees Pisces and sextile Uranus. Um, the moon is going to be in Pisces. It's going to conjunct Saturn that day. It's going to conjunct the North Node. It's going to conjunct Neptune. It's going to conjunct Venus. It's also going to trine Mars, and it's going to oppose that South Node in Virgo. So sextiles can give us a lot of integration. So it can also be where we stagnate because of the familiarity, but we've got Uranus and Taurus that is absolutely saying to liberate. Liberate from what? The old structures, Saturn, the past, the ways in which you structured your life in the past that weren't working, that weren't promoting healing, that created insecurity, disconnection, disillusionment. This sextile between Saturn and Uranus can really be bring us a lot of healing, Pisces, around how we transform our inner relationship to self through closing up a long-standing karmic cycle, Saturn in a balsamic phase to the North Node, where we need to make new choices that help us to heal. And with the moon and Pisces conjuncting all of this Pisces energy, it's helping us to deeply emotionally connect with these areas of our life. This can also be where we are revisiting, recalling, remembering where we bought into beliefs, ideals, how that affected and had an impact on our sense of self-worth, our inner relationship to self, our ability to listen to ourselves. The moon is also going to be conjuncting that Cassandra, so it's pulling in the Mercury and the Venus dynamics. This is where we could have, self-forgiveness, compassion, and empathy for ourselves when we're really working on this, and how that actually cultivates the ending of long-standing dynamics. And with the moon eventually opposing the South Node in Virgo, ruled by Mercury in Aries, retrograde, this is where we could be recalling past instances of grief that are still needing to be healed, and how the awareness around these dynamics, what once felt hidden, or maybe, we had suppressed it and we didn't realize it, and it was buried very deep within, it can really be purged at this time. A deep sense of awareness can come that promotes these healing qualities. And this is especially around the ways in which you talk to yourself, think about yourself, and the duality of, what choices of improvement and healing do you need to make? So there's a deeply spiritual quality that happens on the 28th, right before the solar eclipse that occurs on the 29th. So it's all of this energy is really asking for us to utilize it constructively in order to hit the ground running whenever it comes to starting a new karmic beginning that will be seen and felt with the Aries solar eclipse happening on the 29th. So we're getting a lot of opportunities to come into awareness, to finish up things, to dot I's, to cross T's before that happens. So I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that you all have deep insights in healing this week, remembering that you can only control yourself and we have to surrender to certain outcomes or expectations, but how that actually promotes healing because it's cultivating trust and faith and something maybe that we're not necessarily seeing or tangibly experiencing, a deep sense of standing on the precipice and understanding that something new is just over the horizon could be felt this week. Dreams could be deeply impactful this week. Write them down. There could be messages within that for you, even if you don't understand them now. They could be understood later on at a later date when you're meant to. And if you are, wanting to understand these energies in your own chart, come see me. I would love to see you. And be on the lookout for the video where I go over the Aries solar eclipse later this week. And I will see you all or talk to you soon. Have a great healing week.